Having a mentor or coach, it's basically a time machine. It's going to allow you to save a boatload of time, and you can always make more money, but you can't make more time. Don't lose sight of that. The reason why mentorship and coaching is so important is really is four main reasons. One, it's going to accelerate your learning and growth. And if something's important, if you want to know if something's important to someone, see where they spend their time and where they spend their money. And there is just no doubt about it. Yeah, look, I mean, think about it. If you were, back to when you maybe played a sport in high school or middle school, having a coach showing you how to do things accelerated your learning. Well, it's no different as an adult. So if there's an area that you know you're not already an expert in, having a mentor or coach, it's basically a time machine. It's going to allow you to save a boatload of time, and you can always make more money, but you can't make more time. Don't lose sight of that. Second reason why it's important, it's going to give you accountability and motivation. Motivation can be a little bit of bullshit. I think motivation often comes more from the action than up front. It doesn't hurt to have someone in your corner you're really cheering you on. And it's also an accountability partner. I know this for myself. So imagine you have a gym membership and, let's say it's a Planet Fitness. I know that their business model is predicated on the fact that because they charge so little, 10 to 20 bucks a month, they have a very small percentage of their members that actually use the facility, their business model based on that. Someone like an Equinox paying $200, $250, even $300 a month to use that gym. Those people are going to use the gym or they're going to stop using their membership. Sometimes spending some money, that alone is going to, almost force you to give more time and attention to something that might be easier to procrastinate on. It's going to expand your network and opportunities. My experiences from the coaching and mentorship that I've done in areas like 4 or 5 months ago, bought a course and actually service to help me get on a TED Talk. It's just something that I absolutely want to get done this year. And could I have gotten there on my own? Maybe eventually, even probably, but it wasn't a certainty. And it was also going to take an awful lot of time and attention for something that I didn't have experience in. So could I have invested the time to figure it out? I could have. I decided to invest money instead. But the unexpected part of that was it expanded my network into a whole bunch of other areas, how to do professional speaking and get paid for it. That all kind of came as part of it. So for me, when you do that, you're tapping into someone else's network. And if they've been doing that thing for a while, they're going to know a lot of people in that space. So oftentimes the relationships and contacts you're going to get from that is worth more than whatever you're paying. Forget about the actual learning that comes along with it and the acceleration. It also gives you much more objective perspective and feedback. Yes, you're paying these people, and yes, they're, not going to give you like crazy amount of tough love depending on who the coach is, but a decent coach and mentor is going to be giving you genuinely objective feedback. And again, if you're paying this person, you should be listening to them. I know, like again, in my TED Talk example, I had written my original draft speech. I gave it to them and they gave me a whole bunch of feedback. Some of which, emotionally, I'm like, I don't know if I like that. But at the end of the day, they've been doing this. They've gotten hundreds of people on stage. I've never done it before. Whose judgment am I going to, trust? So long as there's a basis for why they're doing it. So those are the reasons why mentorship makes so sense. Let me talk a little bit about some of the reasons why it holds people back so that you can try to avoid those. I think people are a little bit worried about feeling vulnerable and getting rejected. Maybe they're not going to want to coach me because, again, sometimes it's paid, sometimes it's unpaid. I personally think paid mentorship and coaching makes more sense because I think it aligns incentives better. I think it also psychologically is like, hey, I'm making this, as the person buying the coaching or mentorship are making an investment, not just of your time, but also of your money. But people are worried about, hey, maybe they're not going to want to take me on as a client. Maybe they're going to, think I'm not good enough once they get into it with you. So not only can you be rejected up front, but maybe someone doesn't want to continue to work with you because you're not able to get the results that you're looking for. The biggest one, I think, is people really are worried about the cost constraints. It's like, oh my God, that's so much money. I know when I looked at that TED Talk course, it was a lot of money. More money than I'd spent on a course before. Actually, it wasn't really a course, it was really a service. But I just had a guy on my podcast, and he had told me how he had spent over $1 million in coaching and mentorship over the prior 9 years, and how he roughly estimated he'd gotten about a 25-to-1 return on that investment. And by the way, that 25-to-1 only accelerates over time because he built his business up that generates revenue and cash flow every single year. So he said it already had generated 25-to-1. And he said roughly 3/4 of the coaching and mentorship he had gotten was absolutely worth the money. If you could go back, there might be some that, and again, you'll make mistakes just like you do with everything else. Not every coach or mentor is going to deliver the results you'd like. So do your research, make sure that, making an informed decision. But cost should not be the thing that holds you back unless you don't have the capital for it. And then I would argue, hey, maybe build up a little bit more cash reserves before you move into that business you're trying to get into or that thing you're trying to learn about. Lack of awareness or access. I feel like in today's day and age, between all the great search engines and AI. If you can't find the right folks out there, you're not trying very hard, and maybe you should stick to a 9 to 5. I would say that maybe lack of access to the right coach and mentorship is probably more the problem now. So really, spend your time and attention. The one thing I might suggest that I think any coach or mentor worth their salt will be willing to do, ask to talk to someone as a reference. If they're not willing to do that, that's generally a bad sign. I would think, it would be easy for me to give someone 10 references of people who I've coached and mentored over the years, not only happy, but thrilled to provide a reference. So if someone's not willing to do that, red flag. Always a good way to do your homework and make sure it's the right way to do it. The last one that I think maybe younger people tend to make more, older people sometimes too, is just overconfidence that, hey, I can do it myself. And the reality is oftentimes you can do it yourself, but can you do it as fast, and can you do it as well? And so when people are buying businesses, one of the analysis they almost always make is they're making a buy versus build decision. So let's say someone has, Facebook decided to buy Instagram, and they paid it because I forget how many billions of dollars it was, some crazy amount of money. But the reality was they said, well, what are we buying? And if we were to do it ourselves, how long would it take to get there? And they make that buy versus build decision. And the reason they were willing to spend billions was like, hey, for us to build this product and build up that network effect would take us a very long time, and time is money. And so they made the decision that they were going to buy it. And I would argue that that's almost always going to be true, especially if you're going into a different domain area where you don't have expertise. The best hack there is getting a coach or mentor who really knows what they're doing. So hope you found it interesting. Hope you found it helpful. See you on the other side.